Hey y'all, it's Holly. For a bigger movie like this, I typically would have been back in my other location, but I find it easier to ramble here. Either which way. I did see the Odyssey yesterday, uh, and I needed to think on it before I did a review. Um, some background with me with Christopher Nolan though for this is that I'm not the biggest Christopher Nolan fan. Like, I don't necessarily hate his movies. I just don't vibe with them as much as like everyone else does. Um, like, yeah, I liked Memento when I was younger, but now it's like, okay, sure, whatever. Um, uh, Same with like, I never really vibed with Prestige enough to care. Uh, the Batman movies, I don't want to get into that. Just that's its own thing. I don't. I mean, I would derail this entirely, but that's something. Inception, once again, it's something. Um, Basically, to boil it down, is I find that with a lot of his movies, at least for me, I can't really get very emotionally invested in it, like connect with certain characters throughout the whole movie. His movies are very technical and emotionally cold, if that makes sense, where it just feels like it's stepped back and like you're just watching it, it's just there. Um, and it's just a lot of stuff. Like, I liked Oppenheimer fine. I haven't seen it since it came out because it does feel like a one and done kind of movie. Um, it's something like Interstellar, which I do like Interstellar. I don't know how much I like it like on normal screens, but I kind of realized that like besides the visuals, which the visuals are great, the main draw point for at least something like Interstellar for me was really just Matthew McConaughey, especially that one scene where he's like watching his daughter grow up. Like that one scene, like I realized that like with his movies, I need um at least like one really good scene from a really good actor that brings something like that's memorable. Um oh, what about Dark Knight? Dark Knight would be, like I said, a different video. Um, Point being, um, I don't vibe with a lot of his movies. They, like, I can say, like, technically, they're good movies. Writing wise, I don't think so. Anyway, though, that does bring me to the Odyssey, which I was hesitant on seeing for those reasons. But, much like his other movies, visually, technically, great, fantastic. Did fantastic work. I didn't see it on Super IMAX 70 millimeter, but I'm sure it'll look great on that too. But I saw it RPX. That's the closest thing near me. That's where I work. It's fine. But because I'm a big proponent, if a movie needs to be viewed in a certain aspect ratio on a certain screen to be good, then it's not a good movie. It needs to have the same qualities no matter where you watch it. But like the movie's relatively well acted for what the actors have. Um, in the sense that it's it's that Christopher Nolan writing where it either says a lot or says nothing. Granted, it is essentially a lot of the epic itself. Fair enough. However, I'll get to the however soon enough, but yes, if you want a good visual point, maybe before I get to like the crazy spoilers and stuff, because this is where I'm a conflicted part, where like I don't love it, I don't hate it, I'm not sure if I like it, but if you want a good like a visually stunning movie with some good acting, this is what you're gonna get. Like that. by all means, yes. See it if you like that. And yes, there's not going to be much spoilers, like real spoilers, in the sense storyline spoilers, because it's essentially the Odyssey that's been around for ever, like before the Bible, essentially. So like been around forever. Um, so it's really hard to spoil it. However, it is possible to spoil how that is translated here and what changes were made, which is one of the key factors for me at least. And that's if you don't want to know any of that, the about 6 minute mark, I could say that if you like his other movies and you want to see a movie on big screen and super IMAX with all those visual flares and all that, fine, see it. You'll probably like it. For those who want to know more about it, hello there. Okay. One of the issues I have with Nolan, looking back, is his approach to women within the movies. This is more apparent in this movie, but definitely within the Batman movies, you have like Rachel and Catwoman and all of them, like, they're there, but they're really there just to serve the men's like storylines, which fair enough in the comics, but although Selena Kyle's broken away from that in the comics a lot more so, even especially by then. Um, like you have Inception, point being, like perfect case, where it's kind of billed as at the time Ellen Page, uh, be like the main character of that. You're seeing the Inception stuff through her eyes. Turns out, no, the movie's actually about Leo. She's just there to get you introduced. She has really nothing to do with anything, and he's upset because another woman killed himself. So like, it's the women are just there to kind of just be there for the most part. Like Jessica Chastain's character in Interstellar was there to give essentially McConaughey that one big scene. Fair enough. Anne Hathaway was there to do the exposition. None of his movies really have female-led characters, and the movies that pretended like it, switch up. Point being with this is that if you remember from the book Odyssey, Penelope has a big role. Penelope, Odysseus' wife, has a big role in the epic because a big thing within the epic is that it's showing how clever and very similar Odysseus and Penelope are in handling situations, how they're both like intelligent and like clever and cunning and all that. This movie decides, nah, she's just gonna be there and then maybe like come up with a plan near the end, but that's about it. Maybe like she'll say something here and there. They cut out a lot of Penelope because like in the original epic, one of the many ways she keeps her suitors away or like at bay at the time is saying, I'll pick a suitor once I finish my rug. Okay. But every night she undoes the rug, so she restarts it and undoes it. So it just stays on forever. She has a way to test Odysseus later, way later on, about like a secret with her bed, like all these little things that she's doing. The only thing that she comes up with in this is that I will burn all of the suitors. I'll just lock them up and burn them all. That's her big plan. That's it. Mia Goth is in this movie too, as I don't know who. They kind of treat her like at the very end, like, oh, she betrayed you. Big deal. She had like two scenes maybe in the background. Like one of them, she was talking to Robert Pattinson's character, sure, but like nothing big. She just like in total, maybe a minute of actual screen time. And then they give her like this, oh, she's gonna die, but they never show her dying. So I don't know why she was in this either. Um, Cersei doesn't, no, not Cersei, sorry. Calypso barely does anything in this either. You get actors like Charlize Theron, she doesn't do much at all. Like she's just kind of there, so saying, "Hey, don't eat the lotus anymore. Tell me about your journey here. I want you to help remember because I feel bad about locking you up for 7 years." That's the extent of her character. Zendaya apparently plays Athena, but that's a weird thing too. Where Zendaya is there, she's like kind of appears with Odysseus here and there, and you get the feeling like, okay, he thinks she's Athena. She kind of like no one else can see her, so it's like, okay, sure, Athena's in this. Fair enough. None of the other gods are. Like, if you remember, Poseidon, Zeus, Apollo, Hermes, Athena especially, all play big roles in the actual epic. And you cut to them and like you see their personalities and stuff. None of them are in there. Which brings me to Athena again. Zendaya is just there, and the movie, like her bit in the movie, ends in a way where, like, is she Athena or just his regret? What it turns out is that Zendaya's character is a priestess at the temple of Athena in Troy that uh, Odysseus saw, like, some of the men behead her when they were sacking the city. Which then, like, once he said it out loud and reconciled with it, she disappeared. It's gone. So it's like, okay, then that's not Athena. That's just his regret and shame over it. So it's also just very weird. Um, However, to all of this, though, like I said with the Matthew McConaughey thing, this movie does have one amazing scene. Well, technically two, but like all of Cersei's stuff, like the best part of the movie, 100%. Um, like the scene where Cersei's turning Odysseus' men into pigs is straight up body horror fuel. Like it's insane. Like it's nuts how they do it. That was wild. It's like, hey kids, get ready for Clayface next later this year because this is what it's going to be, pretty much. Or is it next year? It doesn't matter. But then, what's the actress's name? I do know the actress. Hmm, Cersei. Who plays you? Samantha Morton, who was in The Whale. Oh, she was in Fantastic Beasts. Oh, Minority Report, Synecdoche, New York, John Carter. I don't know why that's the one I picked out, but sure. She's been in a lot of things. She was excellent. Excellent. There's a whole like monologue really she has in the movie that's like, no, this is the best acting in the whole movie. This is it. Um, I would say also Elliot Page does really well, which also once again goes back into my whole thing with like Ellen Page when they went by Ellen and all that, is that Elliot Page gets better writing and treatment here than I felt like Ellen did in the movie that was like supposed to be their movie, Inception. And Elliot's barely in this either. Um, there's just a lot of things that are just barely there. Agamemnon's mentioned a lot. You wouldn't know that Benny Safdie plays him at all. You don't see Agamemnon's face at all. So it's like, why are we cutting Agamemnon then? He spent a lot of time with Menelaus, which, fair enough, fine. Menelaus is important in both stories, the Iliad and the Odyssey, fine. Um, but what this movie does, instead of Penelope thing, is focus a whole lot on Telemachus, Odysseus' son, played by Tom Holland. A whole lot of it is him figuring out like more about his dad and finding things and like dealing with the suitors in his own ways and stuff. And it does all of that together does bring the feelings like, okay, Nolan, you had this movie, this source material where there were multiple strong female characters, and either they get nothing to say or their like smarts and stuff get cut drastically. You save like one, that's it. It's just odd choice. the part of not having any of the gods is also odd because they keep in some of the other like lesser mythological figures. So like I said, Circe's in it, Calypso's in it, um, the whirlpool and the monster, the Shalabal, not Sherbal, Shebal? I don't know. And Silica, like they're both in it. Fine. The Cyclops, um, what is his name? Cyclops. Polyphemus the Cyclops is in it, yeah. And the giants that they also run into, who are like cannibals, they run into, but they don't really say what their names are. They just kind of appear and they run away and get a lot of men killed. Um, it That's what I mean. It's just hard to say because it is the Odyssey, but truncate it and cuts out a lot of the interesting stuff for just Matt Damon. Which, Matt Damon's fine. I think this is one of his better roles, but it's still just Matt Damon. And then Tom Holland's great in it. Tom Holland's good. I think Tom Holland's better at comedy, at least right now. He may need a few bigger dramatic moments, like movies, to really hone it. But, you know, um, Robert Pattinson, good, but underused. Like, I've seen him do much better. Like, he's good in it. Like, he's going to be good in a movie, but I think he too was underused. Um, Corey Hawkins is in it, and he barely does anything, which is kind of a shame because I do really like Corey Hawkins. Um, well, also Elliot Page's character was just added in. There's a weird bit where like they wanted to give more meaning to Robert Pattinson's Antinius, and yeah, Antinius is his character by making him like it kind of looked confusing. I thought it was his brother that he was taking the position for, or that he got a shepherd to take his spot. Either way, like he got Elliot Page's character as a kid to take his spot in the Trojan War, with the implication that like he would stay and take care of his dad and all that stuff. You find out like no, of course he didn't do that. He just allowed the kid's dad to fall into ruin and he does whatever. So like they tried to do something there, but that part didn't make much sense. And that could have been I didn't hear correctly because the sound is a little off too. Like it's not as bad as his other movies. It's definitely not as bad as Tenet or Dunkirk or even Oppenheimer. Like the sound mixing is not as bad as those three, but it's still not great. And like I said, I saw an RPX, so like if it wasn't great there, I can assume that in IMAX it may be worse. I don't know. Um, yeah, okay, Zendaya is supposed to be Athena, but that just doesn't make it's just weird. Like, a lot of these things are just like they wanna have their cake and eat it too, if that makes sense. Whereas like we don't want to explain a lot, but we're also just gonna have everything too vague to where you should explain it a little bit. Um, it does the Christopher Nolan thing about like flashbacks within side stories, like all these things. It's like there are ways to do that, and that makes sense within the Odyssey. There is a chunk like after he leaves Calypso and then gets onto the island with the Phoenicians. He does actually tell his whole story, like, hey, yeah, so this is that happened with that. I met with Calypso, I did this, blah 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 blah. That would have been fine if he did it there instead of like having him do with like the lotus flower stuff. But I kind of get it. But there is no Phoenicians, unfortunately. So for all those who wanted to thank the Phoenicians, I'm sorry. Maybe next time. But if you got that, you're great. Um, the one thing I will say that I actually did kind of dig with what he was trying to do. Because I feel like what Nolan was trying to actually take this story for was, well, of course, to show off IMAX, but to show the power of stories and how people connect with those, like in various ways. So you have Telemachus finding out about Odysseus through various stories, and like they even kind of hint at being like, well, what do you want me to tell you? Like that he did this crazy thing, that he did that crazy thing. Like they kind of hint at like a aspect of like we don't know what's true or false about like his tale, which I feel like they could have gotten more into if that's what they wanted to do. But he's learning about his dad that way. Odysseus is having to relive and remember what happened to him and like having to relive all of the regrets he did on the way by talking to Calypso. So like it's all about stories and memories and like that kind of stuff. I do get that. It's just very weirdly laid out. Um, it's That's what I mean. It's like I see the vision, I see the technical craftsmanship, I see all of that. And then it just gets bogged down by screenwriting like adaptation choices that take a lot out of what the original had and change stuff that just didn't really like it changes things that doesn't need to be changed. It takes out stuff that was either important or like switch it. It's odd because I know there's other bits of the Odyssey that was removed. I besides the gods, the Phoenicians, um, the stuff with Penelope, a few other things, but I don't quite remember um, the every detail of the original 100%. But it's if you want a movie with a story, and if you don't really care about like seeing it in IMAX and you're not a huge Nolan person, you can wait on this. I don't, if you're not there just for like the Nolan-ness and stuff, then I don't know if I can recommend it 100%. Granted, people like movies that I don't like. I like movies that people don't like. So maybe. My problems with it are mostly that it just feels very much like Nolan in the worst ways, and in the best ways. Right, the other thing with the I'm going to get to the camera. Sorry, he filmed with a special IMAX camera, and I think he realized the issue with the camera this time because in the past, like I said, the sound mixing was really bad. Part of that is because the IMAX cameras that he likes to work with are incredibly loud. So for this, they built like another box thing, a container for it. And it's so big, the actors did have to kind of position themselves weirdly for the scenes to make sense, like the blocking and stuff, which that is kind of noticeable. But then the fight scenes happen. And Nolan's not really known for his fight scenes. And this is definitely the case too. Like this one, like the third act fight scene, very hard to follow. Um, it just was odd. This is just an odd choice for something. Like if it is a weird thing with Nolan where he insists on like groundedness, realism, that stuff, but he always dips his toes in things that aren't that. Like he tries to bring realism to things that aren't, and like his very technically minded brain like kind of thing just doesn't fit the vibes of certain things. Like I said, like with which one was it? I blanked on it. Not Inception. What was the other one? Maybe it was Inception. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it just doesn't. Inception's action scenes weren't terrible, but those were all incredibly wide shots. But notoriously, all three Batman movies have had horrible action scenes, except for bits of Dark Knight. But once again, that was further away. Tenet was incomprehensible. That movie was. I don't know what he was doing with that one. Um, it's his technical mastery. I will give Nolan this 100%. His technical mastery and use of like the technology he wants to show. Amazing, amazing. Actually, getting you invested in the characters, invested in the story beyond just image thing. That doesn't look cool. Yes. Now I know what I was gonna say. Like the Prestige. Prestige has magic and science in it, essentially. And it's there, but like it's like why is this there when you're trying to do these kind of things? Batman. Why are you trying to make a guy who beats up people dressed up as a bat realistic? I don't know. I don't put all the blame on Nolan with that one because David S. Goyer, the screenwriter, has gone on record saying he doesn't like superheroes, which is a very odd choice to get into writing superhero movies then. But oh well. Um, maybe I should do the Batman movies one of these days. The Dark Knight movies one of these days. But there's that. Is it like Interstellar's fine because it's more hard science for the most part. So it's like okay, like granted, a lot of people got lost lost entrance at the very end of Interstellar because he dipped his toes into things that aren't hard like science. Um, I think that's what he struggled with this movie. Is that he got rid of the gods because he didn't like that doesn't fit his vision of like how he handles things. But then he kept in the lesser creatures and it just feels odd without the bigger world. Um, so I don't know if I 100% can recommend this movie, but I'm also not discouraging people from seeing it. Like I said, complicated.